Just a reminder for you, by the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth. Hello, everyone. One thing we do here is try to show that atheists and atheism just is not rational. It does not follow from anything. No. And so much so that atheists, in a manner of speaking, have made a de facto admission that it does not follow and is not rational. How is that, you ask? Well, by not calling themselves atheists, by redefining atheism. One way we try to show that atheism and atheists are not rational is by playing back videos and having them speak and use their own words. Now, today's facilitator to help us understand that is Darth Dawkins, and he is talking with Randolph Richardson. As I've heard Darth say, Randolph is the founder of Canadian Atheists. Enjoy the video.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have Randolph Richardson, the founder and director of that prestigious organization of Canadian Atheists. Could you explain to us how it's legitimate and rational for you to claim a position of neutrality toward God?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for that lovely introduction. I do appreciate it. It's how I'm born. So I've not taken a position on whether or not a deity exists. And the same can be said for a lot of other things as well.
Okay. So your position is that you neither affirm nor deny the existence of God?
That's correct. I don't believe that they exist, and I don't believe that they don't exist. I'm also agnostic in that I don't know whether they exist.
Is there a single word in the English language that designates the denial of the existence of God? Does such a word exist?
I guess you could say, I guess it depends how strongly you want to use the word denial. If someone's actually taking a position and saying absolutely they don't exist in that sense of denial, then you could throw that under anti-theism, I suppose, which has traditionally been anti-religious.
No, anti-theism does not refer to the actuality of God. Is there a single word in the English-speaking world? Is there a single word that is used widespread in the English language to designate and to denote those who deny the existence of God? Does such a word exist?
I was trying to give you a complete answer. So, just touch a little more on anti-theism. It is diverging, so there is still the anti-religious sentiment, and then the others are...
Can you answer the question instead of fulfilling the title of the room that you're obfuscating? You're obfuscating. No, you're not. No, you're not. Do you know why? You know why I haven't? You know why that's? You know why that's? You know why that's? You know why that's an outright lie? Yeah, I am interrupting you because you're lying.
Okay? Because you don't like the answer. That's why you're interrupting me.
Okay, that's a sleazy tactic. The issue is not that I don't like the answer. I thought you were upset about interrupting. No, that's a sleazy response, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, I asked that question. I ask that question morning, noon, and night. I ask it all the time, and the vast majority of people. No, I want a simple answer. Is there a single word in the English language that is used widespread in the English-speaking world, which is used to denote and to designate the denial of God? Does such a word exist?
So the other half of my answer is that yes, there is a word, an additional word of atheism, which can be used in that manner.
So you've adopted a word that is used widespread in the English language, and especially by philosophers. Okay, a broad Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you.
A broad cross-section of philosophers, as well as the English-speaking world, use the word atheism and atheism to designate the denial of God, but you're adopting that label when you don't deny God? Is that correct?
Denial in a very soft sense, in that we don't believe.
No,
so
either.
that's
Okay, no, that's
usage.
okay. So when you don't have a belief, so when you invoke facts, your facts by choice are without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God.
Yeah, and the reason for that is I don't believe in God.
Okay, so in a God world, all facts would necessitate referencing God. In a not God world, all facts would be without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God. Do you accept that analysis?
That is a valid scenario, so I can accept that as a valid
scenario. So you are accepting the qualification of facts, that is, that facts don't necessitate referencing the necessity of God. That is the type of facts that you accept?
That they don't necessitate referencing the necessity of God. Yeah, I can accept that.
Okay, that logically and necessarily commits you to the non-existence of God.
It's not necessary for me to do that. I don't have to go that
far.
Yeah,
it is. Let me tell you why. Okay. There are only two worlds. There's the God world and the not God world, ontologically speaking. Do you accept that?
Ontologically, I agree. I agree ontologically.
Okay. Now, in the God world, by definition, within the God world, all facts would necessitate referencing the necessity of God. Okay? Sure. Now, in the not God world, all facts do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God.
Mm-hmm. That seems to make sense. That seems valid.
So the facts that you and I invoke will entail either a direct or an indirect denial or affirmation of God.
Affirmation. Not for me. I'm not affirming that any gods exist.
You're not under. Okay, so you want to dispute that if somebody accepts a fact that is categorized as being without the necessity of reference the necessity of God, that does not logically entail the non-existence of God?
That's correct.
That's false. What you're saying is
fact. That's how it works.
That's false. Let me tell you. No, you're not understanding that. You have purposeful cognitive dissonance here. I'm going to explain to you why.
Well, no,
you have to choose. You choose. There's only two kinds of facts that you can invoke.
Ontologically, yes, but I'm
okay. Now, which fact, which category of fact do you invoke?
Well, you're talking ontologically. I'm not willing to go so far as to
when you invoke facts. When you invoke facts,
mm-hmm.
do you do so with reference to the necessity of God? Do you do that? I'm not hearing anything.
So I can't speak for all facts.
Yeah, unless you're breaking up. When you invoke facts, when you do that, do they reference the necessity of God? Or when you invoke facts, that you choose facts that do not reference the necessity of God?
So the problem
I'm not hearing.
I don't know where.
I'm not hearing anything.
So I don't have a complete picture.
Yeah, are you having connection issues?
Yeah, I think so because everything was just silent for the last 20 seconds. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Are you invoking facts without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God? They are without the necessity of God in your view. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I see it as impartial. Yes.
Okay. No. Okay. Well, here again, you have cognitive dissonance. If somebody says God is not necessary, have you ever heard an atheist say that God is not necessary?
I've heard some atheists say that.
Okay. Now, is the statement that God is not necessary, is that the equivalent of saying God doesn't exist?
No.
Yes,
Not
it
in my
is.
view.
Yes, it is. Let me tell you why. God is defined as being the necessary precondition of all things at himself. That's definitionally true. Okay, are we clear on the definition of God?
Okay, if we're working with that definition, which I don't accept as everybody's definition, then
okay,
yeah,
sir, then we're not talking about
I'm
God
trying
then.
to answer, I'm trying to respond to you. Let me finish, please. So in this case, under that context, yes, you are correct.
Okay, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about atheism. We're not talking about other entities that may be subject to one or more parameters that you call them God. What we're talking about is atheism. Historically, is the denial that there's a supreme being and creator of all things that are not himself. Now, if one says God is not necessary, and God is defined
Acceptance, as far as I'm going.
as being the necessary precondition, and if you say God is not necessary, that's an indirect denial of the existence of God. If you say God's not necessary, then you're saying is that there are things that can and do exist without God, right?
In essence, yes. However, to correct you a
Okay.
little bit,
Can
the
God?
I
Real
see
quick question.
atheism
Can
is the non-acceptance, not
yeah?
necessarily.
Listen, Randolph. How many times have you given me your silly little rhetoric about the definition of atheism? We've been
It's
through
not
this
silly.
we've been through, of course it is. There are even atheists who have done critiques of your position and have laughed at how what poor research that you did across the broad spectrum in the philosophical literature as to the definition of atheism. But that's another issue. The bottom
Actually,
line here is this:
I can
the
defend
bottom,
myself
yeah, well,
there.
that's another subject.
No, no.
Okay.
It's very easy for
Now,
me to
the
defend.
point is this. The
I will
point is
reference.
this.
I will
Listen,
reference.
hey, Randolph, we're not discussing that right now.
Yes, we are, because you're
I
bringing
know.
it up.
Okay, Randolph, please don't bicker like most atheists
There's,
do.
no,
You
no.
you
I
present
want to
yourself as
defend
this
that.
cordial atheist.
I'm going.
Then
I want
stop.
to
Okay,
defend that.
hey Randolph, I don't want to have to
To
kick you
defend
from the
that.
stage.
I would
Randolph,
like to defend that.
is it
It'll
your
only take me
position
30 seconds.
when you listen to me? When you invoke facts, you do so by choice because you believe it's not necessary to invoke God, right?
So first of all, what you're saying, I will reject it unless you give me a chance to defend it.
Randolph, I'm going to give you another warning. I don't want to have to kick you from the stage. I'm asking you
Oh,
a
no,
direct question.
Stanford supports me, by the
When
way.
okay, Randolph, you're doing what all of the knuckle dragging teenage
No,
atheists do. You're just
you
being
made an accusation
argumentative at
of
this
me,
point.
and you're refusing to let me
Randolph,
defend myself.
I'm trying to get to a point. You're doing exactly what the
I
title of the
could have
room
defended
does.
it already, and
Atheist
we
troll
discussed it.
and you obfuscate. You're
But
trolling and
you're going around the
obfuscating right
circle.
now.
No, I'm
Randolph,
not. I'm
you
trying to
can
defend a point
continue to
that you
bicker.
made about
You
me.
can
That is
continue to
wrong.
bicker like a teenage girl. It's not going to make you any look any better. Okay,
I'm
as
not.
the founder and head of
You're a
Canadian Atheists, all 50 members. Now, Randolph, it's really simple.
You're.
When
Oh,
you
we've got a lot more
invoke
than that now.
Randolph, this is a fourth warning. I don't want to have to kick you. Now,
I can't accept
Randolph,
your accusation earlier.
Randolph, that's the fifth warning.
Characterization.
I don't want to have to kick you. Are you getting my
I
point?
want. I want the
Are you
opportunity to
getting
defend
my
myself.
point? I don't want to
I
have
am,
to kick
but I
you.
want an
That's a
opportunity to
sixth
defend
warning.
myself. Less
You
than 30
will.
seconds.
Okay, Randolph, I'm asking you a clear question, and rather
Okay,
than
go ahead.
giving me a clear answer, you're obfuscating as the title of the room indicates. Now, can God as an entity actually exist and coexist if there's even one fact that does not necessitate referencing him?
By your definition, no.
Okay. No, sir. Stop with the BS by my definition. Can God, when God, as we have already decided, God proper with a capital G, the supreme being, creator of all things that are not himself,
the Christian God,
can, okay, would you please, you know what? I have given you more benefits of the doubt, and you're really beginning to irritate me now. Now,
well, you're not letting me support my.
Can God?
You're being unfair here.
Okay, I'll start again. You're trolling and you're obfuscating. Now,
I'm trying to have a conversation.
Would you stop over talking me? For the
Then stop
8th
making
time,
false
I
accusations
do not want to have to kick you. Did you hear
Okay.
my words? I know. I think they speak English in Canada, right? Okay.
English.
You understand the English words? I don't want to have to kick you. Do you understand why I'm saying that to you?
Yeah, but you're not giving me a chance to defend myself.
Okay.
Less than 30 seconds.
Rand. Yeah, but. This is teenagers say yeah, but. Now, Randolph, what I want to know from you
don't
is,
insult
can
teenagers. They're
God,
smarter than us.
Randolph, for the 9th time, I don't want to have to kick you.
I appreciate that.
That's the 9th time. Are you beginning to understand that I have a problem with your conduct?
I'm having a problem with your conduct.
Good, then leave.
No, I want to defend myself. Okay. Less than 30 seconds.
Randolph, for the 10th time. If I get up to the 12th time, I'm going to kick you. Now, can God logically and actually coexist if even one fact does not necessitate referencing him?
In the God world, no.
Okay. Do you invoke that is there even one fact that you invoke that exists without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God?
I'd have to think about that and get back to you on it.
No, you've already answered that question earlier. You already answered. I asked you that same question several times minutes ago, and you said yes.
I did? I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did. I said, do you invoke facts that exist without the necessity of reference and necessity of God? And you said yes.
Oh, in the not God world, yes.
Okay. No, sir, I didn't ask you that. I asked
That's
you
what I was.
right
yes,
now. Listen to me carefully. That's not what I said. I
okay.
asked you, when you invoke the actuality of any fact, do you invoke any fact that does not by necessity reference the necessity of God? Do you invoke any such fact?
In the not God world, yes. Many.
I didn't ask you that. Okay? If you
but in the God world,
evade the
I can't
question
ever be able to
again,
do that.
listen to me
Logically
carefully.
impossible.
Listen to me. This is your last warning. I'm about to kick you for obfuscating and trolling. I didn't ask you about the God or the not God world. I asked you.
Yes, you did.
Do you listen? Last warning, my friend. I've given you more chances than I give most atheists, and you're demonstrating that atheists obfuscate and they troll, and that's precisely what you're doing here. Now, I will ask the question.
If you were my friend, if you meant that about being my friend, you would let me support my point earlier.
Listen, I don't consider you my friend. Okay.
Oh, then why did you call me
carefully.
friend?
Listen to me. It's a figure of speech. Now.
Oh, so you're being insincere. Okay.
Do you invoke that there is any fact, and I don't want to hear an answer in the not God or the God worldview. All I want to ask you is this. When you invoke facts, is there even one fact that you can and do invoke that is without the necessity of referencing God? Does any such fact exist?
That's a gray area. I can't give you a straightforward answer to that because there's too much information.
Okay, you know what? You are a. Do you invoke facts with reference to the necessity of God? Do you do that?
Yes.
Okay, so facts, you do invoke the necessity of God when you invoke facts?
No.
Okay, so when you
Normally,
invoke facts, they are without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God.
because that's consistent with what I know. Yes.
That's not that. Okay, so you know that there are at least one or more facts that don't necessitate referencing the necessity of God. Is that correct?
I agree.
Okay, good. Now, that proposition necessarily and logically commits you to the not God world. Logically and listen carefully to my words, okay? I don't mince my words. That answer logically and necessarily commits you to the not God world.
In this conversation, yes, it does.
No, stop, Randolph. It's not in this conversation. When you invoke a fact, either explicitly or implicitly, that is without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God, that logically commits you and necessarily commits you to the not God world.
I can't commit to this reasoning because I'm speaking with impartiality.
You know what? You are such a freaking disingenuous person. I'm asking you a straightforward question. When you invoke facts by choice, I'll start again. When you invoke facts by choice, that they are invoked as actual and intelligible without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God, such a position that you have affirmed already logically and necessarily commits you to the non-existence of God. It logically and necessarily follows.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Okay, good. And you're gone. Okay. Yeah. You see, this is what pathological liars, trolls, and obfuscators they are. I've already explained it to him. These atheists, including Randolph Richardson, from the founder and director of Canadian Atheists, all 50 members of them in a country of 30 million people. This is what he does every single time I talk with him. He lies. Okay? If he didn't agree this whole time, why couldn't he come up with a rationale that says that a fact that does not necessitate referencing the necessity of God can logically and necessarily coexist with the existence of God? Because if he acknowledged the obvious, then he would have to defend the falsity of God. But Randolph Richardson's whole shtick that he has gone and made it at several internet pages on is that atheism is just this non-belief. Well, I'm just without belief. I'm not denying. He'll say, I don't believe in God. But what he means by I don't believe in God is that he is without a positive belief, but he's not denying God.
Come on, man.
It's because he wants to define atheism in an absolute non-standard way, contrary to the vast majority of dictionaries and encyclopedias, including philosophical works. So this way, he absolves himself of having to support atheism as a universal negative that there is no God. So for him, atheism is not a statement that God does or does not exist. Atheism is just simply a biographical statement about one's personal psychology as to whether they have a positive belief or not. But if you actually look in the literature out there, even by non-theists, they will point out that theism is not simply the psychological condition of having a positive belief in God, but theism is the proposition that God exists, and that atheism, if it's to be used coherently, intelligibly, is the negation of the proposition that God exists. But because they can't defend the proposition that God does not exist, they have to transmogrify atheism from a propositional response to the proposition that God exists into an autobiographical psychological condition where they simply lack belief. And they will die on the battlefield of debate looking like the deceptive, obfuscatory fools that they are. That's finally why I kicked him. He wasn't kicked because I didn't like what he was saying. He was kicked because he was being duplicitous and deceptive and purposely obfuscating what was obvious. If you affirm that there's even one fact that can be invoked as actual and intelligible without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God, you are logically and necessarily committed to a world where God does not exist. Why? Because God cannot logically coexist if there's even one fact that does not necessitate referencing his necessity. But you see, atheists don't, like Randolph Richardson, who is a prime example. Atheists do not care about following reason and logic. They will only invoke reason and logic when it suits their purposes. But when you confront them with something that's a logically necessary entailment, they'll say, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, 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 no. They're like the tobacco companies years ago in the United States who denied that there was a correlation between cigarettes and lung cancer. All right, if anyone would like to come up and comment, no, you're not welcome, Road Eye. You can hit the road. Put your hand down. Okay, come on up, Ike.